Good morning, YouTube! Let's talk about sharpening your buck knife in this case. But you can do this with, other hunting knives or, knives that actually have an edge you can work with for doing on a stone. Unlike this sucker, that ain't gonna work for using a sharpening stone that easily. At least not this style of stone, that's for sure. So, I've got my 119 buck knife here. Was using it the other day. We were processing a deer. And it was really sharp when I started, okay? But as you're processing, of course, your edge can go dull, right? So, of course, I'm out in the shop with my buddy Kyle, and we're trying to get this deer done. And, he's got a little jackknife he uses that's made by Buck. It's a buck knife. Anyways, he only had to resharpen his once, and that was it. Me, on the other hand, that was a little different story for the projects I was working on with that deer. But I wanted to go through this with you guys. I've been sharpening this morning for a little while, but it's still not to the edge that I'm after. Now, I believe that if you have a razor edge, okay, like we're talking sharp enough you can shave with, that's sharp enough, okay? And you can achieve that with a wet dry stone, okay? This is a Norton wet dry stone. I've had this thing for, well, forever. My father had it before me, okay? And so he ended up giving it to me. But it's got a fine side and it's got a coarse side. Now, the coarse side, as far as I'm concerned, that's good if you want to get some nicks or burrs out. Works great for that, okay? But you need the fine side for all your fine detail edging, right? So you want to get that nice and sharp. I'm really not into this whole playing the game of you need 15 different stones and then a leather strop afterwards. To me, I mean, that's just way too much stupid work, and you're still going to have to resharpen your knife, probably, depending on the steel it's made out of too, how well it holds the edge. And buck knives, they do hold an edge really, really well, okay? But there's a chance you may still have to resharpen, okay? But before you do, make sure you clean all the gross stuff off your knife first. Anyways, let's get on with this. So, no special jigs of any kind. Your blade will sit at the right angle on the stone. You just got to keep it there, okay? And I usually go 10 strokes on each side. So I'll come right up to the back side of the edge here and just do this. So it stays at the correct angle this way. And then we go to the other side this way. Okay, so that's 10 times twice on each side. So 20 times per side right there. Now, like I said, I had already started working on this before doing the video because I knew I had to resharpen it anyways. Your edge might feel sharp if you flick your thumb across it or do the nail test. That doesn't mean it's sharp enough to get the job done. And I'm pretty OCD when it comes to a sharp edge. And, you know, I'm not expecting it to cut through paper like butter, but it's got to cut nonetheless. Okay, you're trying to process an animal, you know, you need everything sharp. So that got hung up there. So I got a bit more work to do on this. It's not perfectly done yet. So I'm going to keep going at this and going at this. But you can do, this one can use either water or oil for the wet if you want to do it. Or you can do it dry. Okay, I've chosen the dry method. I'm trying something different. Last time I sharpened this, I did oil. Worked really good. Okay, so this time I'm trying a dry method to see how that works out for me. But the stone is designed for wet or dry with your knives, so take your pick on that one. I've got another, where to go? This one here. This is my Skinner knife with my zipper cut blade, okay, or gut hook, okay. Now this one I can also do on this as well, okay. But I found with this blade, with this steel, it actually works best with my diamond rod. Okay, and diamond rods are pretty simple to use. I've got this one here. This thing's probably, it's old. Okay, but diamond rods, you're keeping the same path, running it flat edge. Okay, kind of like you see a lot of chefs doing this with their knives. Okay. Now, I've tried to use the diamond edge rod on my buck knife. It does not seem to like it. Okay, check this. Now, this hasn't been, or has it been? I don't think this one's been resharpened, because I was using this one on the deer too. Not bad. Needs a little bit more work. But the diamond rod does work really good with this knife. This is just a mossy oak. It is cheaper steel compared to the buck knife. But it seems to prefer the diamond rod. So definitely got some more sharpening to do. So I haven't sharpened it since then. So I'm going to go back to doing this. But the big thing here is keeping this edge down, okay, and not doing this. Okay, you keep your fingers up front, medium pressure, and just follow it all the way through. And then we'll go do the other end. Now, I learned how to do this on my own. My dad actually never taught me how to sharpen a knife. I mean, filleting knives for fish, I got this thing. I've had this thing for ever. And this is a ceramic stone one. And it's got a rough side and it's got the fine side. I've never needed to use the rough side. I've always been using the fine side. And that fillet knife I have is probably one of the last good Rapellas that was made in Finland. And these are awesome, awesome filleting knives. And you can get a super razor edge on them even with one of these. Fantastic. Process a lot of fish with that before you got to worry about sharpening it. But I also used that one on the deer too. And that one I only had to resharpen I think once. So not bad. So between 3 knives, not a bad job. And then, like I said, my buddy had his little buck folder knife with him. I've got a folding style one myself too, made by Yukon Gear, and it's actually pretty darn good. And it gets a nice edge on it, but unfortunately the steel in Yukon Gear knives is not that great. So even once you get a razor edge on it, don't expect to get a whole lot of work done with it. Like, you're not going to skin an entire deer with that thing without sharpening it a couple of times. It's just a really crap steel. But you don't find these things out until you buy these knives. You try them out, this and that, and then you find out, oh, well, maybe, you know, this wasn't such a bright idea for this job. But that doesn't mean that knife's not good for doing other things where it can hold its edge a lot longer and be very good for you. Okay? This is kind of like a gutting style knife in a sense, because you can get up there and you're not going to puncture the guts. This my son actually gave to me, and it was in really bad shape when he gave it to me. Like, it was rusty. So I cleaned it all up, and I put a nice sharp edge on this, so this thing slices nice now. But this makes a great just gutting knife, period. So that's actually pretty good. But anyway, that's what I got for you on this one. So if you're gonna, you know, stick to traditional rough and smooth stones, instead of going for all those multiple levels, okay, these things work just as well. In my opinion, you know, the big thing here is you've got to get a nice sharp edge on your knife so that you can, you know, process your animal what you need to do, which is basically gutting it out in the bush and then take it home, hang it up, process it from there with whatever knives you're going to use for that sort of thing. It's kind of your deal. You could do all with your buck knife if you want, you know, or whatever. You know, just have a good knife that holds a good edge on it for a while. All knives will go dull. I don't care how the quality is. Eventually they all go dull. But I don't think I really need to go and spend even $1,000 on a super high-end knife, or $400 or $500 on one just to get the job done. When, you know, buck knives, these things are like $130 brand new in Canada. I got mine used for, I think it was like $70 or something. Yeah, you just keep the edge on there and keep her sharp, and you know, you don't need to really go through all that nasty stuff. Now, I will say that when you sharpen with water, it's not much different than a dry on the stone, because water seeps into the stone, right? So you're constantly, bleh. So, but because this can use water or oil or dry, I like the oil method myself, because the oil will stay on there a lot longer, and I do seem to get a much better finish in the end. So I'm going to sharpen this as sharp as I can get it with the dry, and then I may do some swipes with oil just to fine tune that edge. It's almost like having a strop, I guess, in a sense. I don't really know, to be honest, but I do know it makes a difference to finish my knife off with about 20-30 strokes per side with the oil on there, and it works great. And you can shave with this thing really easily by the time I'm done. So, but anyway, that's how you do it with a buck knife specifically. Other knives are gonna work with whatever angles are built into them, that you can do it without having any kind of jig going on, you know, type of thing. But yeah, gets the job done. See ya.